Bungie has given us zero communication on some pretty pressing issues in Destiny 2, and they're going to continue to do so, and the reason why might surprise you. In today's video, we're going to go through this article here, which reads, days after suing Troll for $500,000, Bungie says Destiny 2 devs can't speak publicly because they're still being harassed. A very interesting article, and we're going to dive a little bit into why Bungie has been communicating so much less lately than they have in the past. The first part reads, less than a week after winning a $500,000 case against a harasser accused of threatening a Destiny 2 community manager, developer Bungie says its team can't speak publicly because devs who aren't even community managers are still being harassed. Not for the first time, a player on the Destiny subreddit recently requested that Bungie make more regular use of the dev-backed Destiny 2 team Twitter account, which was set up around 8 months ago in order to share more insights with the community. If you don't know, there's a team account that was created after the community manager left, and the reason why they did this was so that the personal accounts wouldn't be attacked by trolls and people like this guy who got sued for $500,000 and stuff like that. And now the issue is that we have this Destiny 2 team account, but they don't really speak about anything. They don't talk about any of the issues. Obviously, we've been criticizing Bungie's monetization practices. We've been demanding some answers as to why we've got no Gambit content for so long, and we just get absolutely no response from the Destiny 2 team on Twitter, which is strange because that team was created to give some anonymity to the community management team, but even still, it's just not being used or it's not responding to things. And so a lot of people have been criticizing that, saying, you know, it's okay to take your personal accounts private or take them away from the spotlight rather, and put all the focus on the team account so that way you can actually respond to things through that. But now we just get no communication at all, and it really hurts, especially when there's these like pressing issues that we need responses from Bungie about. The next part reads, I'm not saying you should expose your employees to people who might actually harm them, the player reasoned, and then you can already hear the but coming on here. As someone who has been threatened and actually almost attacked at the workplace, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. That said, it would be beneficial for everyone if you use the account more than you currently do, which is actually a pretty fair criticism, I would say. Some people might disagree, and if you do disagree, comment down below. And Bungie themselves actually responded to this post because it got so much traction, so let's go ahead and see what they had to say. A response from the official Bungie Help Reddit account explained the studio's stance on the issue and the relative quiet from the team account. Appreciate the feedback, the post begins, echoing countless CM posts before it. Unfortunately, devs who aren't even community managers are still being harassed just because they work at Bungie, so using the CM account on Reddit will put a bigger target on all of the community managers' backs. They then go on to say, I completely understand the want to go back to how we used to respond all the time here, but that time has passed. Until everyone can feel safe again, I wouldn't expect to see many responses from us here for the foreseeable future. So their claim is that various different Bungie devs and Bungie employees are being harassed across various social media sites, probably mostly Twitter, because Twitter is just an absolute zoo on there, right? And because of that, they're choosing to stay as quiet as they possibly can across all social media, which I understand, you know, they as a company want to keep their employees safe. They then go on to say, however, just because we aren't responding often doesn't mean we aren't still looking at feedback. The studio continues, as a legend once said, we're listening, and while we can't always act on the feedback, we do share it with stakeholders every single week, so please keep it coming. You may find us responding more on our help forums, so please report any issues to us there. So even though they aren't responding as much, they are reading all the feedback and taking it all in. Someone on Reddit responded, and apparently they got downvoted. We got a Redditor who's since been downvoted into the abyss, argued that harassment is just part of life, even if no one deserves it, and that basing your PR strategy on the actions of 0.1% worst actors is strange to me, which is a very spicy and very hot take, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Bungie shot back, we don't accept that being harassed is just a part of life. This kind of mindset is unhealthy, and we aren't going to put ourselves in danger for a video game, much less Reddit. That was an interesting response from Bungie there. Destiny 2's community, like many MMO, FPS, and indeed video game communities, has a long and colorful history of senselessly attacking developers. Bungie's efforts to make LGBT employees visible in developer diaries have been met with all sorts of vitriol. For example, the lead developers have previously been driven off platforms like Twitter by harassment over balance changes or even exotics. These bad actors represent a small portion of the community, but even if only a small portion of an audience hurls garbage at you every single time you come on stage, eventually you're going to stop showing up. Bungie's handling of the harasser, who now owes $500,000, was praised by other game developers who hope to see it as a precedent for protecting employees from all too common abuse. The part I find as an interesting tangent to some of this is that Bungie devs have a spotlight, a target put on their backs due to their position within the gaming industry. They have the ability to change elements in the game, and that acquires some sort of, social currency, popularity, may it be it, so be it. But there's also others, content creators also have to deal with this to a large extent as well. And I'm not saying that content creators deal with it better than Bungie does, but it is an interesting comparison to see how content creators do deal with this. I myself have had to deal with this to some extent. I'm friends with someone, Tifu, you should probably know, he's had to deal with this, but to a crazy extent. There was the police were at his house, the SWAT team's at his house, pizzas, food from every location's at his house. There was literally a detective in his house asking, why this was happening, why he's getting swatted so much. He had to change his entire address. It's pretty crazy. Content creators have to deal with this quite a bit. But the one thing that I find interesting is that content creators don't get the freedom or the luxury to take a step back because it's their livelihood. They have to keep doing that. It's a part of their business. They can't just stop. And there is an element of, if you do stop, if you do let these trolls win by not communicating, by not saying anything, you kind of give them some power to some degree. I know that Bungie wants to keep their employees safe, and that is the most important thing, of course, keep them safe. Well, the first thing is just don't harass Bungie devs. One, don't harass content creators. That guy had to pay $500,000. The second thing is keep your employees safe, of course. Keep yourself safe if you're a content creator dealing with this. But thirdly, you can't let the trolls win. You can't just let them know that they actually have that power over you. If Bungie wants to take their communication that's on Twitter and move it elsewhere, that's fine. You can move it to the Bungie site. They could respond to a lot of these issues on the Bungie site. We go to the Bungie site every week anyways. We go there for the TWID. We go there for any sort of articles. Like, we're constantly frequenting that website. They could easily keep that there and keep the conversation to no replies or whatever they want to do, so that way they can keep things in their own control. So that way there's no harassment on their website, like there is on Twitter and like there is on Reddit and elsewhere, The thing is that Twitter and Reddit are just like the wild, wild west. You can just say whatever you want, do whatever you want, and you will get banned or timed out, but you just make a new account and you'll be right back in 2 minutes saying the same stuff over and over again if you want. So that's part of the issue with that stuff. You can't let the trolls win. You gotta continue to communicate with the community. I know that one guy was downvoted into oblivion because he said that, you, what did he say? Basing your PR strategy on the actions of 0.1% worst actors is strange to me. Well, I don't think that they're basing their PR strategy on the 0.1% actors responding to a new situation that they haven't really had to deal with before. They haven't had to deal with this level of harassment, and their first priority is, of course, to keep their employees safe, and they should do that. But the issues that are being pressed on them, the communication that we want and the communication that we need, and the lack of response, there's no justification for some of this stuff. Like, we need a response to monetization issues. We need a response to so many different things in the game. And until we get that, there's going to be unrest and there's going to be, strife. And honestly, it kind of compounds the issues more, because as Bungie refuses to respond to these things publicly and communicate on these issues, more people, it's like a ticking time bomb of sorts. It's like people get more and more riled up and they get more upset. They're like, does Bungie just not care to respond? After we've spent 9 years playing this game and however many hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars invested in this game, depending upon how long you've played and what you've spent on it, they should express some form of communication. And they do. I mean, we even have the This Week in Destiny still going out, but it's just getting so much smaller and they never really talk about the pressing issues that we need them to talk about. So I agree with Bungie taking care of their employees, and that sucks that the harassment happens, but there does need to be more communication. And I feel like the less communication they give, the more they just let these trolls win, Content creators, they don't handle the situation perfectly. They can't run away from it. Like, if someone's harassing you, you can't just change your username and just leave the internet. It's your job. Like, that's how you pay your rent and stuff. You have to navigate through this issue to some degree and understand and keep yourself safe and navigate through it. But you have to continue to push forward. You can't just quit, And I feel like that's the part that's tough to deal with. It's tough to deal with the lack of communication when we really want it, But hopefully with time, the harassment dies down. Or if the harassment doesn't die down, which I don't see it dying down, because now that the trolls know that they have all this power over them, they're probably going to keep doing it. But if the harassment doesn't die down, hopefully Bungie finds a new outlet for communication where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe, and we can get some of the answers we need, Bungie. We want some answers. We like this game. We like the franchise. We just want to know what the heck you're doing there in the HQ up there. Speak to us once in a while from your ivory towers, please. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and click on the screen here if you want to watch another video from this channel. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. Smash the like button. Later.